The agents, so Hermes and OpenClaw and NemoClaw and all the agents are incredibly inefficient with AI tokens, like to the point that it's just laughably hilarious. Like every tool call, they add like 64K tokens to the context or something like that.
Yeah.
And so what that means is if you're going to pay an API fee, and also that goes in combination with the fact that most of the agents are banned from most of the AI platforms. So Claude, Anthropic bans AI agent usage with Hermes and OpenClaw. I think AI or OpenAI allows it. So that might be like the one kind of hack for now, but like, let's read the writing on the wall. How long is that going to last? Who knows?
Well, they'll definitely go with Claude because they like hired Pete Steinberger, the creator.
Well,
Like,
you mean OpenAI did? Yeah, OpenAI hired him. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Who knows how long that'll be supported? But basically, where we are now, the writing's on the wall that tokens cost money, and AI agents are super inefficient with tokens. So if you're gonna use a Hermes or an OpenClaw, and you're not going to use OpenAI, you basically have to have an AI rig locally.
I still come back to it's just a matter of time. Like, I think two things are going to happen on the horizon. Like, the first thing that's going to happen is the price of all of this shit's going to start going through the roof because, like we've talked about it, they have to raise their prices.
They're about to IPO. We'll talk about this week.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But that's the first thing. And the second thing, like, if we're looking at Microsoft, we're looking at the GitHub, we're looking at, what they're stopping AI from doing from offensive cyber stuff. Like, I am absolutely terrified of entire operations at BHIS being completely shut down.
Dude, if Claude's down, I ran out of Claude tokens on Friday at like 3 p.m. I just left. What was I gonna do?
Done. What do I do?
What am I supposed to do?
Right?
I can't do anything without Claude.
I've been like issuing that when before you ask Claude to do something, ask it if it can make a script to just automate it. And we've been like strictly trying to like, if a Python script can do this, do not spend your tokens on it. Have it create a Python script to do it. We set that aside.
Okay.
Only
there's a lot of ways you can optimize your tokens. The other one that really worked for me is I specifically was like, anytime you spawn subagents, spawn them with Sonnet. Don't freaking spawn Opus subagents.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like that.
Because 2 times last week, I had it spawn Opus subagents, like 150 Opus subagents, and burn through my entire usage in 20 seconds, basically. So yeah, like that is another little hack. There's a lot of ways.
You guys using QMD?
I don't know what that is. Is that caveman talk for AI?
It's like an indexing tool that it's actually helped out. I've got a ton of docs that I'm using to develop some RF software right now, and the docs are like looking at docs, and the my token count's gone down significantly since I put the QMD plugin in there and indexed everything.
You're like, basically the idea is you have a more efficient querying for your docs, so it doesn't load them into context and cost you. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
It's cool. So one of our teams that'll go unnamed, even though it's not the offensive team, let's just say they might be defensive adjacent. They're using AI heavily, right? And I started asking just the question, like, how much are we spending on AI, like, here at BHIS?
They're like, you don't want to know.
And honestly, it was so they have a mix of like local things that they've built and things that they're using in Anthropic and all these different things, right? And they got really defensive to start with. They're like, you can't take AI away from us, man. You just can't touch it. We need it. We need it. I'm like, that's not what I ask. I just want to know what the spend is. And it came out to like $3,800 a month. And that's because they're doing what we were talking about. Like, they're trying to run local models. They're spinning things off in different places. They're being very good about the context that they give things. And they're training all the people to be very specific in what they ask. And I actually came back. I'm like, I think you should be spending a little more than that. That seems light to me. Yeah. Considering Derek Banks himself outspends the entire team in a week. We probably
agentic pen testing is token hungry for sure.
Oh my God, it loves the tokens. But it's like, but the thing that I think is funny is like people are using it, like we were just talking about, like write a Python script or do something. Instead of it just kind of going off on its own, if you can feed it a port scan, it actually saves you a significant amount of money just having it start there, a service identification. So I don't know. It's going to get.
You're better off just starting from scratch every time and saying, do an entire pen test, no mistakes.
Yeah.
Use as many tokens as you want.
There's nothing. The sky's the limit. And then I get that bill for $500 million in a month. I don't
Yeah,
still
we
know
have an
what that
article
was.
about that.
I bet
Let's
we do.
roll the finger, Ryan. Let's get started on this show.
All right.
So it's past time.
Those are rookie numbers.
Hello. Tom, we're gonna do one. We're gonna do every word, every other word. Okay. So hello,
And
welcome,
two
black.
ills
Information?
security
Wait. Oh yeah, we can do it as a group, guys.
Oh, talking about
news. So there we go.
It's June 8th, 2026.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And Western civilization still exists, much to the surprise of everybody, I think.
Yeah. So
Um,
first introductions. We've got a few friendly faces, some new faces. We've got Fawn. Fan?
Yeah.
Is it Fawn or Fan?
Fun. You got it right
Fun.
the first time.
fun. It's fun.
Who has an upcoming webcast about doing evil things? No, not about
No,
doing
no,
evil
no,
things.
no. Screw it. I'm gonna introduce Fawn. Fawn was the primary mastermind of Malware of the Day. He has more experience with network traffic and malicious traffic samples than anybody walking the planet. I feel fairly comfortable saying that. He is also the lead author and instructor of a new class that we have coming up that's using agentic AI for network threat hunting. That I think that's a good intro, Fawn. Your thoughts? Is that
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so
I will
excited
expand a
about
little
this.
bit. I wouldn't say it's purely network threat hunting. It's kind of like applied harness engineering, but network is
Yeah.
definitely
Oh, yeah.
a core component of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
that's-
amazing.
Sorry, that's the workshop. The class that he's
Yes.
teaching for the Threat Hunting Summit is currently the #1 selling class at the Network Threat Hunting Summit by a wide margin. And that's the agentic AI for threat hunting. So I think, Fawn,
Yes.
they should take your workshop first and then take the class to get the most out of it, right?
I am so
Absolutely.
excited for
Yeah.
this. I'm excited because we've talked so much about the show about how everyone's super excited about using Mythos to code up 0 days. No one's talking about how to use Mythos to do the opposite.
I
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything.
That's odd.
That's
The
awesome.
other
And then
person
we also,
joining us. I'm gonna
yeah,
introduce
we also
Paul.
have Paul. Yeah,
I'm going to introduce
John,
Paul.
you have an awesome intro for Paul
I
too, because that
do.
was pretty good.
Paul Clark
Yeah.
is a brother to a brother of mine. I know that seems weird. From the transitive perspective, he is a brother of mine as well. I've known Paul for a long time. He is a Black Hat instructor, one of the highest rated classes at Black Hat. Back when Ping was still running things, she shared that information with me. Also, an amazing reverse engineer for software-defined radio. If you want anything, you should go check out the book that he co-authored, Field Expedience Software-Defined Radio. He has a copy of it at his desk.
got an
Now it's
upgrade.
practical. We got an upgrade, practical SDR. And I really think if you're looking at like what the future of computer security is going to be, I think there's two areas. I still think web apps and custom web apps, and there's going to be a lot of web app pen testing. But I think that SDR is one of those areas that's being tragically ignored right now, unless you're in the military. But I have no problem saying that Paul is probably one of the top 5 experts in software-defined radio hacking and security. And that's just because I know his brother's in there, maybe a couple of other people that we know. But got an amazing webcast coming up. He is one of the main people that I've learned SDR from through his books and through his classes as well. So please check out his webcast and his training. Paul,
If you're listening to this, we know that you bought an SDR and you haven't used it yet. And you have, okay. Now,
yeah, we know
that.
we know it's sitting in a box.
We know
Paul,
that.
you dust that
And
thing up.
what you're gonna do is you're gonna go find it. You're gonna take it out of the box. You're gonna go to this webcast and you're gonna actually use it.
I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
You do now.
Let Claude steer it. It'll be fine.
Oh, all right. Okay. Yeah, I can
You
do that.
won't violate
I
any
can do that.
FCC rules. It's fine.
I'm not in the flight path. Nothing will happen. You know.
Oh,
It's a fun.
Speaking
I
of
did-
flight paths, another fun fact about Paul, his wife is one of the only people on the planet that can actually navigate using a sextant while flying.
True.
While flying, yeah, the pirates that invented them definitely weren't thinking about flying.
They were thinking, you'll be flying over the Arctic with no GPS satellites available.
Imagine if this ship were 1,000 feet up. Anyway, let's
then
do the
Wade.
show.
Yeah, let me.
Wade
Yeah,
needs
right.
no
Well,
introduction.
no, it's fine. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not even going
Wade,
to.
you don't have
I've
anything to
grown
plug
many
except
I don't know my I don't know my sales stats for my.
yeah. Wait.
No one's emailed me.
Hold on. Everyone got a sick intro. Yeah, let's make John do sick intros. Do one for Wade.
Wade has an amazing mustache.
That's all. That's it. That's all we need.
He keynoted Wild West Hacking Fest.
He did that
was,
too.
That feels so
pretty
long
deal.
ago.
Well,
Don't
yeah,
do that,
that
people.
was so
Don't
long
keynote.
ago.
If you keynote, don't do the closing keynote. You'll just dread the entire week. Like,
Yeah,
I
That
highly
was
suggest-
still one of the best keynotes I've ever been to, though. So,
was fantastic.
from my
It was
perspective, I disagree with that.
All right.
Yeah. So, but now we've got some news stories because that's what we do
Yeah.
here, Corey. Do you want to pick one out? Because
Yeah, let's-
I'm excited. This is like news story roulette for me because I've been traveling nonstop for the past 2 weeks. I have no freaking idea what's going on in the world of computer security other than what I've seen at conferences, which apparently is AI pen testing for everything, everywhere, all the time.
Yes.
That's all I've seen.
So, okay, basically,
do it.
John, here's the choice. This is choose your own adventure. Do you want to talk about AI first, or do you want to talk about AI second?
Let's talk about AI second. Let's ease into
Okay.
it.
All right. So basically, there's some government stuff. There's apparently a handful of articles about Anthropic. I guess this is like a kind of AI. Everything's AI, John. I'm sorry. That was a trick
escape it.
question.
Trick question.
Anthropic has been planting engineers at the NSA, is basically the article, according to multiple sources who are in the know, aka definitely don't work in the NSA. So I guess, like, okay, supposedly Mythos is coming. Supposedly, like, this is released.
Wait.
Like,
When you say coming, you mean for all of us. It's not just
Yes.
Yeah.
special closed.
but we should
data.
assume the government already should
Has
have
had
it, right?
Yeah,
Has
they have.
had it, should have it. Is that, I mean, there's a lot of speculation here, John. I don't want to like force you to comment, but like, can I force you to comment?
Go for it.
So if Anthropic's banned at the government or potentially facing a ban, why are they also placing engineers or staff members at the NSA? Why?
So I think that this gets into a compromise, right? Like I what I think is going on in the background is you have the people at Anthropic that are saying, look, we don't want our code being used for kill decisions, right? We don't want it to be used for
Unless
drones.
it's software that's getting killed.
Yeah, but there's a whole universe. I like, look, if hypothetically, if I was the CEO of Anthropic, I would sit down and say, we don't want to do that killing stuff, the kinetic where we actually take out humans. However, we are perfectly cool doing intelligence. We are perfectly cool doing exploitation development. We are perfectly cool doing all of those cyber offensive things that are normally done. And we can just hand it off to somebody else for that last mile. I think that's number one. Number two, I also believe that there's pressure, even though you have certain people like Pete Hegseth that is like, okay, we're going to ban them and we don't like them. I think that there is pressure that is basically saying, look, you shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We definitely have a place for this tool and their capabilities that do not involve, being used in automated drone kill decisions and things like that. So that's what I think is going on, is I think that there's now rational conversations around, not that anything's rational with AI right now. I think that there's rational conversations going down at the moment about, it's not all or nothing. We can definitely work within gradients of scale for these things as well. So
OpenAI is like,
Yeah,
we have 5.5 cyber guys. We're just as cool.
Yeah. So, but if you look at it, you have like Palantir that can do intelligence and do target selection and do all kinds of different things. That's data aggregation for potential terrorist threats and different targets, of course, of interest. Then you have Anthropic that can actually do the cyber exploitation automation. And then you have other organizations like Grok that probably has no problems whatsoever being involved in automating.
They're trying to build killbots right now. They're just look like dumpsters.
I know. Oh, jeez. God, a Cybertruck day. That's nice. That's a way to work that in. But that's my thoughts associated with it. But I would like to get other people's thoughts too.
My only other like thought is what does it look like showing up to the NSA to deploy Mythos? Do you just bring like a backpack full of H100s, like 5 mil worth of GPUs? Like what does that look like just physically?
I can describe that. Usually how that works is it's multiple vendors all working together. So you're going to have Cisco, you're going to have the network vendor.
Cisco's there. They're like, guys, we got switches. I don't know.
We got switches and routers, Navy beans. And then you're going to have the actual hardware, like whoever they get that hardware from, whether it's Dell or raw NVIDIA, they're buying all of that stuff. Anthropic's literally just showing up after the specs and after things built and installing the software. That's usually how that looks.
Anyone else have any takes?
It's on-prem when they deploy the model, John?
Yeah, there's no effing way that the NSA is going to allow the public Mythos to be used for what they're doing. Zero chance. None whatsoever.
At the end of the day, it's just
is the NSA part of the Department of War? Because I feel like the whole squabble, as I originally read it, was between Emil Michael, who's kind of like, I think, just below Pete Hegseth, and Dario. Remember that weekend when stuff went on? So the NSA is under the Department of War?
It would be. Technically, if you're looking at the NSA, it's under the Department of Navy.
Wow.
And so it would be underneath that. Then you have other intelligence apparatus. Now, it's kind of like saying the Marines are technically under the Navy, but technically, but whenever you're looking at how it breaks down, the different castles and the different inns actually treat each other as security risks. So the NSA doesn't like sharing stuff with the CIA. CIA doesn't like sharing stuff with the NSA or NRO or any of those other organizations. So it's very, very siloed. So you got to look at the mission of what the NSA is trying to do, right? The NSA is not necessarily there to support the warfighter. The NSA is there to collect intelligence, right? You have the NROs grabbing a bunch of signals intelligence from satellites. You have the NSA is grabbing all kinds of intelligence, breaking into computer systems. And that's where you get to Equation Group and groups like that. Then you have the CIA that's taking a lot of human intelligence and trying to pull that all together. Now, we ran into problems before September 11th of getting all of these different ints, like human, OSINT, SIGINT, to basically correlate and fuse together. And there's been a number of attempts to try to get that set up, but there's still entrenched political barriers that exist as far as the transfer of that information and who effectively can tell whom to do what. Now, that all breaks down if you actually get into something like if you actually have a colonel or a general that's on base and there's an ongoing kinetic operation that's going on, those guys and gals, they can actually cut through the red tape and they can say, NSA, you're going to give us your data right now. Because a lot of times NSA doesn't want to use the data that they've collected for actual kinetic operations because there's a chance that it'll burn their source. And they're very, very, very concerned. Let's say that they're deep in the Kremlin. And if you want to take action on something that you're getting for data outside of the Kremlin, it's possible that you will lose that source by acting on it. So there's a lot of considerations that go into this stuff. It's very, very complicated, and there's a lot of dance steps that go with it. Also, the NSA generally doesn't actually do like operator on the ground, like kill operations generally. Or renditions or any of those different things. So once again, it can give that space for Anthropic to exist and thrive that still stays within their moral framework.
Yeah. Interesting.
Any other takes on this one before we move on?
Well, maybe one thing I would add is it's hard always to kind of untangle what is, kind of quote unquote the truth and the posturing, right? Because I think, as I understood, they didn't really officially ban Anthropic. They basically said within 6 months we're going to ban them. But at the same time, then kind of all this news about Mythos comes out. It's very, very hard for me to imagine that, the US government will forgo potentially a massive advantage in a frontier model as a weapon just because Pete Hegseth kind of, had a little hissy fit at the same time.
So
Yes.
I was going to say that goes directly into the President Trump signing an executive order requiring AI firms to provide early model access to the government.
Yeah.
Which
I
felt like that.
Yeah.
So if you got something good new, you're going to give it to us first, which this kind of flew under the radar for me. I didn't hear about this at all.
Okay. So that's not new. Okay. That's, okay, since we're talking about the NSA, F it, let's go. You should go see like how many patents the NSA actually has. There is a bunch of situations historically where something interesting happens, and whether it's the CIA, the NSA, not the FBI so much, but the intelligence agencies in the United States will actually suppress that technology, and they will use it specifically for United States military purposes. That is something that's been happening for an incredibly long time. So basically saying that AI, they have to give their early access models. The United States always kind of had that capability. I mean, it gets down, if you want to look at, like, I don't think it's the oldest example, but one of the older examples was the RSA algorithm, right? Technically, due to export controls, the algorithm for RSA was not allowed, or the AES, that was not allowed to leave the United States. And there were shirts way back in the early 2000s where people would have the algorithm and say that this is, this is a banned shirt from leaving the United States. So there's been multiple examples of that through history. This is just another example of it.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, DeepSeek is number one on Open Router. But anyway, yeah. So I think, while we're on the US DoD type stuff, the Cyber Force is kind of an interesting thing that we talked about a little bit last week. It's basically like this new Cyber Force, a new branch of the armed services under the Army that's designed to be like somehow a new Cyber Force that's additional to, Space Force and the Navy and the Air Force, who all do cyber stuff. And there's an article about it that we have. I'll paste the link, but basically it seems like that the goal of this cyber force is to let us to wage cyber war, but not stealthily. It's like that's basically like my interpretation of that. John, I don't know if you they're basically taking TAO and saying, okay, never mind, we just have a normal chain of command, and I can just command you to go pop a firewall in Iran or whatever, and you have to do it. I don't know if that's true necessarily, but it seems like that's kind of the goal from my reading between the lines. That's the read I got, is
that's similar to what I was just talking about. Like, the NSA is probably the most advanced cyber offensive operations in the United States government, which really shouldn't surprise anybody, right? If you're talking Equation Group, Taylor Access Operations, and those groups that have been around and been very well documented. But once again, the NSA's primary goal and objective is to maintain access to get data, right? They want intelligence. They are not necessarily there to support the warfighter with forward operations, even though they do get drawn into that quite often. So this actually makes sense. This actually makes a lot of sense, because this cuts through the bureaucratic red tape. Whether you're in the Army, whether you're in the Navy, whether you're in the Air Force, you need specific cyber capabilities to support your specific domain, right? If you're doing, ocean stuff, right? You're going to have a whole different type of cyber warfare needs that are separate and distinct from the Army. And the Army has a very different set of needs associated with the compared to the Air Force. So this is something I think should have been done a long time ago. There's been a lot of conversations about how there should just be a dedicated cyberspace force that just does that. And I think that may be needed, but I do not believe that it should be the only entity. And that's the internal politicking that you see in the intelligence and the DoD. Is the Air Force for a long time was probably the most advanced. Some of the teams down at San Antonio out there, so shout out to those guys. But then you also had, the Navy was doing a lot of really, really cool things because they're part of the NSA and things like that. But when you're looking at the Army, or you're looking at the Marines, the specific mission objectives and goals of what they do is fundamentally different. So, giving you an example, if you're doing night operations in a zone downrange, like you're in a war zone, right? Your needs would be like very much field expedient forensics, where if you gain access to a building and you gain access to computers in that building, how can you very quickly and efficiently pull down the forensics that you need in that specific environment that can possibly open up additional targets that you need to move to, and you need to move very quickly without sending everything to a lab outside of Washington, D.C. So this makes sense. And I think that every branch should have dedicated cyber offensive capabilities that support their specific domain.
So a cyber force is like, we have Mythos, we're coming to party, basically. That's like their F-22 or whatever.
I think you're gonna see every branch of the government have their own mythos. There's not going to be like DoD mythos. You're going to have Army, and there are going to be multiple mythos for different mission objectives.
Wonder how much of
All
the
right.
defense budget's going to be dedicated to data center construction over the next 10 years.
Oh my God. We're going to get into data center stuff, huh? I'm
mean-
guessing a lot, Paul.
I mean,
a lot.
geopolitically, that's like where everything's at: energy production and data center construction. And this country has really struggled building things in recent years, so it's going to be interesting how that plays forward.
Watch
And
the
Paul,
government
I wanna
become the number one investor in renewable energy.
Yeah. Well, Paul, the other thing that is going to happen, right? Because, you've ran in these circles too. It's going to happen where the Army is going to have a data center and the Air Force is going to be like, we've got to make our data center bigger. Like there's going to be data center envy between the branches, and it's gonna turn into this colossal disaster. And you're literally going to have unused GPUs. I guarantee it at some point, or inefficiently allocated ones.
Yeah, well, that's possible. I mean,
Yeah. Let's talk about some stunt hacking. Did anyone see that? So there's an Ars, I don't know. Definitely Ars Technica article about a speculative side channel attack that basically uses JavaScript to tell how busy your disk is when it's doing stuff, and then tries to infer what you might be doing with your SSD. Really cool attack. This is like the modern version of Tempest, right? I guess, or something like that.
Yeah, Tempest
Van Eck.
hard drives. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's a research paper. This is all in a lab. This is stunt hacking. Obviously they're never going to be able to figure out how many browser tabs I have open, because I don't even know how many browser tabs I have open. But I think it's a cool concept. I guess, has anyone deep dived into this from a technical level yet? I haven't had a chance, but it's the concept would be to leak data, I guess.
I think it's interesting, and this gets back into the stuff that we were just talking about. I can guarantee you that there is multiple multi-million-dollar contracts that are being launched about this right now. But
because it's browser based, you go to a website and then it starts running and trying to harvest data off your machine immediately.
Yep. And that's the part of it that I think is really cool, and the applicability. So yeah, I don't think it's ever going to see the light of day as an actual quote unquote attack that we are going to have to deal with as far as offensive and defensive cyber. At least I hope not. But I guarantee you there's definitely a bunch of companies in DC right now submitting proposals to weaponize this.
The first thing that comes to my mind with at least a website that just can spy on you instantly is tracking North Korean IT workers applying for jobs. Like, if you guys don't, like, that has been, at least for blue teamers, like, how do you even get before they even get connected? And then one of the ways is easy to track when they actually apply. And there's a lot of HR tools out there now that are actually looking at the browser, looking at the time that the browser is actually configured with, then looking at the resume and comparing all of that. That, for some reason, that's the first thing that comes to mind was this, is how do you track people actually going to your website that are possibly malicious, then fingerprinting them, and then possibly blocking them in some way.
Well, I mean, dude, that would be insane. That's like,
it would be. Yeah, that's taking it to like
Minority Report. Right? Like, we predicted that you were going to hack us, so we blocked you.
Yeah. Well, and this, who knows, maybe some lightweight version of this will be utilized for, for bot detection, right?
Yeah.
To basically say, okay, this is a computer that is a human being. It's a phone, it's a laptop, it's a desktop computer. It's not some virtualized environment or a bot that's being spun up, or even AI, right?
Yeah,
so I think that some variation of this
true.
will be used. And maybe this will be good research for that too.
There are some really fun little tidbits in this article that are fun jokes that I want to call out. First of all, it says one of the best ways to prevent frost attacks is to close tabs. So that's, not going to happen, obviously. The other funny thing it says is the OPFS file must be extremely large, likely a gigabyte or more. That's just a website now, dude. If I go to
Yeah.
buy something online, I'm downloading a gigabyte of JavaScript. You can't stop me. So
Can't
yeah,
take
I
it
mean,
away.
Stop me.
I don't know. It's really cool, and I think John's right that this is probably going to get attempted to be weaponized, throughout the.
I just got that last sentence, Corey. The researchers did not test Windows.
Yeah.
Notice that.
But- I've got a question about that. Was that
They were
like an
too lazy.
oversight? Like when they were like, "Oh crap, we forgot the operating system that's like almost 90% of all the computers on the planet." We completely overlooked that. Like, did they not test it because oopsies? Did they not test it because they actually did test it and it didn't turn out that well? I'm very curious about that sentence. That there's a lot to unpack there.
Pure laziness, or honestly,
Pure
just
laziness.
probably what they had laying around. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean,
But so I was
right.
going to comment that this is the one article that actually seems like it didn't involve AI, but now I see that it harvests IO interactions and then feeds it into a CNN, which is
Yes.
kind of like what the image models are based on.
Yep.
But what the information they can get is they can deduce app and websites open on the device.
Yes.
So I don't know if they can leak like creds or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I guess, yeah, what you can infer. But that's wild, though, that there's patterns that the CNN, the probability, the matrix multiplication will come up with IO rights to, hey, Photoshop is running on this system. Like,
It's insanely cool. It's probably not that useful, but it's still insanely cool.
yeah, for sure.
All right, I think we're almost at the halfway mark, so let's just turn into an AI podcast real quick. No, actually,
Yeah.
before we turn into an AI
Wait.
podcast,
Wait,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Paul, how much GPS do you know?
I used to know more.
What?
It-
So the reason I
that
ask
just
is
means
just
he knows everything. For those,
he knows every. So there's been I watched half of the YouTube video. I haven't been able to watch all of it, but there's a really good YouTube video that's just based off a paper right now where it's Russians jamming GPS over Europe.
Yeah. That's so there have been reports of that going on. The Black Sea was a hotbed for that kind of thing as well. But yeah, where'd you find the article on?
I just threw it in the chat right now. So the original YouTube is on Vertasium, but there's a bunch of news
I saw that.
articles all over the place right now, and there's an actual paper about it. And the interesting part is, at least I saw, is like someone just pretty much said, "Hey, go look at all the GPS data at this particular time," and then they slowly started investigating and trying to figure out what it is. I was hoping somebody else read it because I only got to watch half the YouTube video and didn't get to finish it. But
So I'm subscribed and I saw that video come up. I hadn't had a chance to watch it yet, but that's really interesting. The kind of the mass jamming is one thing. What was more concerning, especially with some of the Black Sea stuff, was spoofing and trying to, essentially mislead GPS receiver as to where they were in a more controlled way.
Which is some really fine tuning of timing to make that work. Like that's pretty impressive. I will tell you, it wasn't in the news much, but whenever I flew into Tallinn, Estonia, there were a number of conversations about cities around Europe where the GPS was failing airplanes and they had to land the airplanes manually, like the whole approach and everything. And I can't remember all the cities, but I want to say, I'm going to be wrong about this. I want to say like Frankfurt or Munich was one of them. But there have been cases that have been reported in Europe where they've been jamming GPS and then interrupting commercial flight operations, especially close to the Russian border. As you get
the article mentioned whether it's GPS only or also included GLONASS, Baidu, and those others.
Let me throw in another article that's not gated. So the paper identifies 75 events over a 7-year period in which terrestrial reference stations operated by the GNSS Greenland and Canada recorded simultaneously significant drops in their carrier noise ratio. The story of the jammer hunts, they hunt in space. First they began, they're trying to figure out what it was. And originally I remember they actually centered around one of the Russian ports that has a lot of nuclear sub. Man, now I wish I watched this full video. The most recent article I gave has a little bit more roundup. I wanted to read the full white paper of it, but have not been able to yet. And it's not too long.
So, okay,
Yeah.
is Space Force going to nuke the satellite? Like, this is a Netflix plot waiting to happen.
I think that if we think about it, I think we can all agree that would be the solution, right?
Come on.
Like,
What else are you going to do?
just
like,
start knocking it out because that doesn't happen because once again it gets into that arms race thing.
Okay, fine lasers,
Where?
John. Fine lasers.
They're
You can
gonna
make lasers.
they're gonna send up some miners up there, land an oil rig on it, and then slowly drill. No,
But why not?
There's oil
Wait,
discovered on
why
this
not?
stuff.
Why not?
Dated
astronauts?
reference at this point.
Why not?
Why not? Why not? Couldn't astronauts learn how to run a mining rig?
Don't ruin them. Don't
I
ruin the
don't.
movie, John. All right, gosh.
God, if you get a chance, it's Armageddon. Is that the name of the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
Go
yeah.
watch the director or the comments with Ben Affleck where he
Yeah.
talks about it. There's a whole thing where he's talking to the director. He's like, why does it have to be miners? And I think the director just said F you.
Yeah.
But
It's a Michael Bay movie, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Don't ask questions.
Don't ask
Yeah.
questions. So I think this is wicked cool. Like I said, I know my wife and I, we were worried about it when we were flying out of Hamburg a couple of days ago, hearing about it constantly. And there was a couple of times, I don't know if it's just serendipitous, but there was a couple of times that like the flight tracking information for the airplane was like, it would go like insufficient. It was like so
It was like, you
errors.
are in space.
Yeah, it's like I'm not there. I don't know. And our flight map had this weird zigzag where it did a correction. I don't know if that's I've never, ever, ever, ever seen that before on an airplane, but it was something that happened and it could just be a serendipitous kind of weird glitch that happened. But I know a number of people at the SciCon conference for NATO were very, very concerned about this and other things. Now it was mainly for them personally. They were like, I hope it doesn't crash my airplane. I'm a
I have
jet.
to learn how to read maps. That sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. You know what we need? Sextants. We need to be able to navigate
that.
via sextants.
I would get lost so much if it wasn't for GPS.
The little byline in there, the little sub content there that mentioned something about the need for a redundant system or something. I forget where it
How
said.
many
but
systems do we need?
it's like it's an interesting sort of throwaway line, probably that I shouldn't overinterpret. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the ramp would be to start building redundancy into a satellite constellation.
You know what?
The
Behind
redundancy
behind
is Thomas Guides.
It's going to be Elon Musk, and he's going to come out with his own GPS from Starlink, and he's going to
Wow.
be like, "Yeah, that's broken. Just use this instead." So,
Good.
Yeah. All right.
All right, now go full blown AI. We can do.
oh
Yeah.
god, here we
Well,
go.
okay. So, but yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, there's so many AI articles. We can skip them. Let's keep skipping.
No,
them.
no,
So
no,
there's an interesting.
we got to
there's
go
an
with the big
interesting one.
stories. We got to give the kids what they want, man.
There's a
Like
fun
AI
Troy Hunt, who we're a fan
awesome.
of, has published kind of a retrospective article on. So last week he published his 1000th data breach and have I been pwned, and kind of wrote this retrospective article that's pretty interesting. The kind of the headline of the article is basically companies aren't telling people about breaches anymore as quickly or in some cases at all. And basically, I mean, I have two perspectives reading the article. One is, duh, of course not, because the breaches were never about protecting the customers. It's always been about protecting the companies and doing what's in their best interest, right? But also, the other part of it that's really interesting is that there is a regulatory side that allows this, and that's kind of that was new to me. Basically, if you scroll to the bottom of the article, Ryan, there's a chunk that kind of explains what compliance and regulatory frameworks allow not posting it. Keep scrolling up a little bit. So there you go right there. GDPR, and if you keep going up just a teeny bit more, CCPA, which is California's, and GDPR both have basically some legal loopholes, I guess I would say, that basically say, like, if it's super high risk, you don't have to tell people about it, or in more words than one, which I found interesting. But it's an interesting, I never expected to be informed about data breaches. There's a ton of examples in the article about him finding out about data breaches on his own and not from the vendor or not from the company that was breached. And there's some, I guess I would call it like wall of shame a little bit of some of these companies that didn't notify at all.
But is it a wall of shame? Does anybody even care anymore? I mean, this is one of those things I wish Bronwyn was on today, because she has some really good takes on this. But, for all the years that I was teaching computer security, I was always like, oh, a bad data breach can bring your company down. And we're like, well, or not, I guess.
How many times have these companies been breached over and over again, and then they still like TransUnion or one of the other what do you call it?
Invisible voice, Ralph. Where are you?
Speaking.
Show yourself.
Yeah, Ralph.
Oh, there I am. It's a wild Ralph sighting.
I know. I was just gonna say, like, how many companies have been breached? I wanted to say TransUnion. It was one of the other credit monitoring.
No, T-Mobile gets breached every 2 years.
Every year on the clock.
So do all the ISPs. Charter Communications every 2 years.
I have T-Mobile, and every time they get breached, I'm not like, shoot, I'm switching to Verizon. Like, it doesn't change it. I don't know. That's just me.
I think every other consumer is on the same page. No one's switching because of breaches.
Yeah.
Like the only thing people give a shit about, let's be honest, is their browser history. That's it. That's it. That's the line.
As someone who's pulled a lot of browser history from people's computers, you should be. That is
No, I've gone through enough info stealers to tell you that you should delete your browser history a lot.
Yeah.
Just every time you close, delete.
I think, I basically what I would say is it does actually highlight the need for services like Have I Been Pwned? Like, it's kind of something we all maybe take for granted, but the truth is this is probably the only way you're going to find out you were breached. It's not going to come from the company got breached.
I feel like by the time he's got it, though, isn't it like too late? Like, what are you really going to do?
You're screwed at that point.
Yeah,
but
most of the cases,
no, it's not. There's a lot of times I'm teaching, and I bring up Have I Been Pwned, and people go there, and you hear swearing in the room. They're like, God damn it. And they're like, well, now I got to change my password, right? I don't know. Yeah, I think there is value in people signing up, getting notification, but no one cares. It's like COVID killed a million people in the United States. Million.
What I would say from a personal risk perspective, your data being in a data breach is the same thing as like a vulnerability being published, right? It's like it doesn't necessarily immediately impact you, but it does give you a chance to potentially remediate that vulnerability before it gets used by a threat actor, right? Like it's the same thing as like it's an end day now. Like it's up to you to beat the hacker to that password or to that email or to that phishing topic.
So I've got two hygiene tips, right? That you can do for this. And they vary on how much they mess with your life, right? But one is you can use kind of unique email addresses per.
Oh yeah, that's a must nowadays.
Yeah, and so there, just like a simple version is like Google allows you, I think, to put like a name.
Apple does, Google does, simple login. There's a bunch of services. Duck will do it for free, even.
Sure. So using that is really smart idea, and it separates it out. And then you also know if like you gave out an email and now it's gotten spammed out its wazoo.
Dude, I have caught multiple companies selling my email for sure. Yeah. 100%.
And then the last one obviously is tying that into just a simple password manager, right? So like that.
Yes, those are the two best bang for the buck. Like definitely not one password though.
Whatever you do, do not let your password manager get compromised. I will say that as
oh yeah, you're taking all the eggs and putting them in one basket. You got to protect.
You're saying basket. if your password manager has a password, it doesn't help you.
You're definitely a little screwed, just a little bit.
A little bit. All right, that would be a fun audit.
All right, I got a good one. Did you read the mapping AI enabled cyber threats one to MITRE ATT&CK?
No.
Let me throw the link in there.
But I'm about to. The attack navigator thing.
Yeah, the attack navigator one. So pretty much
the Anthropic red blog posts are popping off.
They are fire.
They're so good.
I'm glad I'm not the only one thinking that.
No, it's kind of a bummer they care so much about cybersecurity because they're not leaving any freaking real estate for the rest of us. But anyway.
Dude, I was thinking the same thing. So the Anthropic red team analyzed a bunch of accounts that were banned from Claude for malicious cyber activity over like the past year, and then mapped it to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. homework to figure out like what's going on in the past 6 months.
Cloud accounts, cloud accounts, number one, guaranteed.
Oh, it's always going to be valid accounts, right? I feel like the cool part about this is though, that I really like is being able to see which accounts are or which tactics are being used a lot. Tactics and techniques. Okay. My thought is because nowadays the defenders are finally really starting to digest the conversation logging, right? And to really understand the attack at least attack if someone were to get onto your box and start using an AI there, and if you have the logging from it, that was one of my insights to this, or at least my first thoughts as a blue teamer. The other thought is just seeing how cool the attacks are escalating from now for the past 6 months and what they're using to not just attack
they're not
you,
using
but
bits jobs, dude.
Dude, they're not, and like defense evasion being the key one, right?
So Wade, I got a question for you. I've always wondered, and I don't know, I'm lazy. I guess I just haven't looked at it. Can you think of anything where it's like a heat map like this, where it takes like, let's say the information from Mandiant, the information from Verizon, and looking at the techniques that are actually utilized and then putting that on a heat map? And the reason why I think that that's important is because if you're doing detection engineering, or even deception, you would want to make sure that you're putting deception and doing the most detection engineering for the techniques that are the most heavily utilized techniques. So this is the first time I've seen that in the form of a heat map. That's like, no, these are the techniques that we're seeing, but it's in a different angle coming at it differently.
Yeah, there's so like the main tool I used in order to create those heat maps was called Detect, which is still out there and still widely used. And that one, if you give it a bunch of JSON files, it'll actually create the heat map for you. So you have to create the JSONs with it.
Yeah, but there's no one that's collecting it. I know at BHIS, we started keeping a running record of the findings that we have in our reports. And I'm thinking about releasing that as a heat map against MITRE.
You should just do a full report, like so the year-end threat reports, right, that always come out. Like the one I always preach is Red Canaries, because they actually have like a music track to go along with it, which is really fun.
We can Spotify rap, but forgetting
exactly, yeah, like Apatet was in it one year. But reading those reports is super insightful just to see what's going on across. But you do have to read it across a bunch of different vendors and to understand what's the exact tactics that are being used or techniques. And like Corey said, valid accounts is almost always the primary one.
Although it's interesting, actually, looking at it, for those curious who haven't looked at the report, the number one technique is develop capabilities malware, which tracks, right? Like, hey, I need a C2, no mistakes. It has to be written in Rust, go. Like obfuscated files, right? Like, obviously, building JavaScript or other obfuscated tools is super easy to use for AI. Local system is interesting, like using AI agents as a post-ex tool. We're doing that right now. We basically take our C2 agents and we give them MCPs to AI, and then we say, oh, I lost all my password files. Can you help me find them? And AI is like, absolutely, buddy. I'll help you find those password files.
It wants to be helpful.
Yeah, so it wants to be helpful.
What's kind of funny is the number one defense evasion is the number one tactic used in at least by what that they're using LMs for. MITRE ATT&CK actually just split defense evasion up into two separate tactics. I believe it's stealth and defense impairment, right? Which
that makes sense.
doesn't necessarily like make this moot, but it's like, oh, like the timing was just poor.
Yeah, totally. 54% tried to impair defenses with AI. And now we gave them 100% thing, which is just to say it's PHI and it won't be touched.
Yep.
All right. Let's keep going on AI.
We open the floodgates.
We've opened the floodgates. I mean, there's like, we can do some like quick hits because we don't have that much time left. I mean, first of all, Anthropic is supposedly going to IPO. Like that's potentially on the radar.
Really?
I mean, like, if you've been
I haven't heard that. That's
but it's smaller. I will say a couple things about it. It's smaller than the SpaceX IPO, but it's still $1 trillion.
Which doesn't make any sense. By the way.
But whatever. It's, I mean, basically, I think for those listening to this, probably the only thing you really care about is how is this going to impact the price or the like availability of these products? And I mean, safe to assume, I will say before this, and even now, like if you're looking at AI, we've talked a lot about on this podcast about like the AI marketplace in general. we talked about who's going to survive between all the different people that are running a horse in this race. Anthropic's actually the closest to being profitable, according to them. They've claimed they're going to be profitable as of 2027. OpenAI's current prediction is
2030. I thought it was 2030.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so Anthropic is 2027. OpenAI is like, maybe someday. I don't know. Probably not. Google is Google. So whatever.
They're already profitable.
They don't
basically, uniquely, I guess the question I don't know, and what I'm curious about is why? If they're already going to be profitable, they already have the funding they need. They already arguably they're the most sustainable frontier model company that isn't.
They're not sustainable.
IPO?
That's why.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
But they will be next year. They're going to be profitable. So
No, they're not.
IPO? Well, that's what they
No,
said.
they're not.
So
the only way that they have so much profit is because so many investors and organizations are pouring money in good after bad. But the way that they're operating is not sustainable. Now, some of the things that I'm seeing in the various publications that I follow and track is that the models are shifting over. Yeah, we've already got the subscription model, and we've already seen the price points, and we're already seeing that companies are blowing through their entire annual budgets on this, that, and the other thing just by burning through tokens. This is not going to go away, and the problem is more and more companies are seeing that what they are doing is not sustainable, and that's why they're having to rehire humans back into positions that they let them go from. That's why they're having to do all of this stuff. It's not going to happen.
And the other thing that I would like to add is, we got the Anthropic one, but then we also have the SpaceX one. And the SpaceX one's timing is very interesting because they have to do it's something called a float readjustment, right? So it has to do with the percentages and how much you can put out in the stock market. It's complicated, and to be honest, I don't understand it. But before you have to report, you have to report quarterly on this before you can do a float adjustment. And one of the things about the timing, and I'm getting some of this wrong, but I don't do stock markets, but the way that specifically the SpaceX IPO is going to go down is the people like Elon Musk and the people that are investing in it, and they're the ones that are going to just make crazy amounts of cash, will be able to exit before the float readjustments and like have to happen. So what my point is to all this, kind of answer your question in a different way, Corey, is the idea isn't necessarily this is a profitable long-term business venture. It's a game of musical chairs. And with the game of musical chairs, you have Series A funding, you have Series B funding, Series D, and through a lot of companies, as you're moving through different series, the goal is to try to get somebody else to take the money, responsibility and risk. You buy out or you get bought out and you get out. IPO is one of those ways where they're trying to move this around so the people that are in it heavy, that'll make the most money, will be able to step out, make a shit ton of money. And then the people that are going to be holding the bag when it's over are the stock investors. And the rules that just changed because of what's going on with SpaceX, I'm thinking Anthropic's looking at the same thing, is basically they're making it to where if you have like an investment fund that you're investing in, you have to invest in these companies. And I think that that's the big push. The big push isn't like the traditional, this is profitable, it's going to be a company, and it's going to have like, what do they call it? A P&L to like Walmart, right? Like Walmart's valued at like $900 billion, and it actually makes revenue $750 billion. So when you're looking at these companies, they're not making anything near where their valuation is going to be. And I'm telling you all this because this matters, because the whole thing is being set up and rigged in the stock market to make sure that people can make as much money as they possibly can as quickly as possible, get the F out, and then everybody is going to be left with whatever's left over. And everybody that has their 401k is going to be screwed because of it.
Basically they're setting up the next stock market crash.
Well,
it's not all their fault, but yeah, pretty much.
On a positive note, the S&P was like, hell no, we're not including SpaceX. So that was
but Anthropic and
I'm not disagreeing with you, but at least we got that one. Like for now,
the S&P is crazy, not stupid.
But I agree largely a lot.
When you get these companies that are this large, they create their own weather, right? Like the fact that NASDAQ is willing to completely change its listing rules just for SpaceX is flipping crazy.
Yeah, so something else related to what you said too, John. I don't know if you saw, but like I think it was Fidelity. Usually, to you have to have a minimum of $500,000 in your account to get in on the IPO, but they lowered that to $2,000 for SpaceX, which is just kind of like
Wall Street Bets has
extremely
entered the chat.
transparently that we want all of you to buy our somewhat worthless stocks to hold the bag.
Well, and I think that this matters, in the context of this podcast. I think that this matters because whenever there is a stock readjustment that is eventually going to happen, right?
Mhm.
We know as a pen testing company, when COVID hit, immediately every company was basically like, oh shit, we need to hold off on pen tests for the next, couple of months. Whenever we had the Liberation Day with tariffs, we saw something similar. Anytime that there is like a fairly large stock readjustment, we do see call volumes coming into BHIS that correlate that down, right? We see this all the time. And a lot of these companies, unfortunately, whenever they get hit, especially in the tech sector, because the tech sector is running up the entire stock market right now. All of these companies, whenever something like that happens, they react by saying, you know what we need to do? Layoffs, right? And that's something that I think directly applies to us in security, because we've already been seeing a huge hit in hiring and staffing in the security space because of AI. And like Bronwyn said, humans are coming back into the loop. It's just a matter of time. I hope. I could be wrong. But Bronwyn agrees with me, I think, so I'll take that.
Yep, I agree with you. Well, it's happening. It's happening. Easily half of the companies that were expecting to have mass profits and not hire any junior people, they're going, oh, gee, our people that we have left are spending 3 times as much time debugging all of the vibe coding that we did. And yeah.
Well, and I think that'll
it's
come
just
down.
a matter of time. In the long run, it will help us.
Yeah,
But it's
well, I think it's like we talked about.
Correct.
Yeah, Bron, we talked about it before. It's like the .com bubble, right? All of that shit that was predicted happened. Webvan failed, but we now have Grubhub, right? And I do disagree. I do think Anthropic can be profitable by next year, just because their business model has been focused on enterprises, not individual users. It's kind of what ChatGPT went.
They don't have a free. They don't have their user
Freemium
base
tier
based on a free product.
Yep. And then the other thing that they can do, I think that those assumptions of profitability, I think, are based on they know they're going to have to raise their token prices. They're going to have to raise their costs.
Yeah.
I mean, the API cost for Mythos are already much, much higher. I mean, I'm assuming the inference is also much more expensive, right?
Well, and
one of the other impacts that we're going to see is this, and it has to do with power infrastructure. The power companies are talking about these virtual, not generators, but power stacks, and it's basically we're going to be seeing a lot more battery based of power management and changes in how the power infrastructure is handled overall, and that is, of course, going to have an additional repercussion in the infosec sphere, because utilities are one of the things we look at.
And Bronwyn, I think that that's a brilliant thing that I don't know if anybody's really talking about that, because if you look at the entire grid infrastructure of the United States, right, because of legislative capture and the way that they make their profits is not normal, right? The infrastructure for power and the power grid in the United States is light years behind any country other than the United States, whether we're talking China or Europe or any place, right? And I wonder, based on what you said, and we should take note that we should do some research on this, Bronwyn. This should be a webcast. But I wonder how much pressure there's going to be from the IT sector to try to upgrade the infrastructure, the power grid infrastructure in the United States, to kind of move towards more smart infrastructure. Or do you think they're going to just say F it, and they're going to basically build their own power stations almost on site?
Oh, dude, you didn't hear
They're
about
already doing it.
That's already happening.
Microsoft was like turning back on 3 Mile Island or whatever. That was a thing.
We're going to do modular nuclear. But I think, John, you're right. But I think it's also going to come from the communities, because I don't know if you guys have seen how many of the proposed builds, like the increase in the amount that are being challenged by local communities.
Yeah.
right? So the net
Oh yeah, we
effect
talked
is
about it
much
last
more
week.
expensive and takes much longer to build these out. And now the people profiting most from it are also some of the biggest corporations to ever exist, and they have a tremendous amount of influence on the government at the end of the day. So that I do think that's a big selective pressure for, they're going to have to figure something out with the power, because at a certain point when people's energy bills are just going to be like 4 or 5 or 6 times higher, at a certain point, like the social contract's going to get fairly brittle because of that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they're just going to give up. They're not going to use power. It's all going to be firewood.
Again.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week, but the law enforcement folks are warning about a new brand of activist terrorist type people who are like anti-infrastructure or
Data center.
Well, anti-AI
anti-data center
infrastructure.
crime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously that's alarmist as usual for news, but
A lot of that is coming from the same people that are targeting other people, but that's another conversation.
So what we're saying is get a physical pen test of your data center, I guess.
Well, and but how do you build that into your threat model? Like when you're building these data centers and you're like, okay, we're seeing what Iran is doing. We now need to deal with drones, right? Like, how do we protect this really expensive infrastructure from just random people doing drones and bringing the entire infrastructure down? It's a brave new world. Like,
these things are, John, these data centers are already built absolutely bunker-like. I mean, in general, they're I mean, not all, but like,
actually, no. Have you seen the ones Facebook? They're just tents. They're just tense.
Okay, but
everything that SpaceX has built now.
Hold on. Don't forget, John, that Facebook or Meta is the company that if you just ask for someone else's account, they'll just give it to you, or their AI will.
Well, that's basically using a chat bot to get the Instagram creds. That's all.
Yeah. I'm just saying they're not exactly known for their hardening.
Yeah. Well, the other recent news about just even on this topic, right? Data centers, a lack of availability, lack of power is the SpaceX or AI, whatever his name is named it at this point. But essentially, 2 things, Anthropic and Google are both paying $1 billion a month or something like that?
Yeah.
$1 billion a month.
Yes. To rent space on the data centers that they built out because
because circular financing, though, because again, though, but that the company who they're paying $1 billion to owns a 30% stake or something in Anthropic, right? They have
exactly.
This is all circular financing.
So
it's like
you're saying, Corey, there's a big club and we aren't in it. Is that what you're saying?
That's what he's saying.
I can tell you, according to AI token prices, I am costing Anthropic thousands of dollars every month.
Same.
I mean, I look at that usage and I'm like, if I was paying for these tokens, I would be a very poor man.
Hey now, I'm starting to get nervous.
Do you also, does that make you feel sometimes like it's going to run out, so I have to, like, what can I create next? What can I create next?
Kill that every night.
No, the AI
it's a weird form of anxiety. Huh?
Yes, I agree.
It's like a addiction, honestly.
No, okay, so
definitely.
Two final articles before we close the show and give Paul and Fawn a chance to plug their stuff one more time. So first of all is that Microsoft is designing a new, basically OpenClaw, but for Microsoft products, which sounds like the worst pitch. I did not have on my bingo card, but basically they've leaked, or someone leaked the planning documents, and it specifically says that one of their intentions is to get people addicted to it. And so this is a real thing. Here's the news article, 404 Media. Basically, this is a thing. AI is addicting. I have personally noticed this in my life. Like, I have gotten to the point where I've had to add AI to my wind down to be like, I don't do AI a couple hours before bed, because otherwise I'll be up all night being like, what if the agent does this? What if the agent does that? What if it screws up?
If you get into a conversation with one and it sucks you in because it's such a sycophant,
Oh yeah. No, I the amount of time I've spent waiting for a freaking thinking to return or something. Anyway, but yeah, the other article, obviously Microsoft intentionally designing them. There was one more thing, which was that Amazon had to take down their internal AI token leaderboard because it was just costing them a huge pile of money in tokens because people were just basically faking it. people were
What's the
basically
leaderboard? Like token spend.
yes, token spend, internal.
Wow.
This is the thing. We've seen it at Meta. Like there was an article a month ago that Meta's token spend was like $1 billion a month or whatever, some stupid number. But yeah,
And
basically
then
Amazon
Mark's
had to
there with the
shut.
whip. Spend
Yeah,
more.
well, that's exactly right. So basically, Amazon shut down theirs. This is obviously an insider has leaked all this information to 404 Media, but basically they shut it down, and the feedback that they were giving in managerial reviews was basically you're not using enough tokens, and they had the internal leaderboard. And so people started gaming the system, of course, and just wasting tokens. So it's just AI wasting tokens back and forth, and then Amazon having to pay the bill of however many hundreds of thousands of dollars people use just to waste tokens.
Another company that used to lose a lot of money.
I keep saying it, and I want to close the show with this. I think the TV show Silicon Valley ended way too soon.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's very true.
They need to revive that.
We're living it.
Yep. So let's do
let's do some plugs. So first of all, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go get your SDR. You're going to dust it off. You're going to plug it into your computer, and you're going to come to Paul's webcast on June 10th, which is only 2 days from now. You got time. You can install drivers by then.
And there's a book, Paul, if they want to be ready for the webcast.
And there's a book. No Starch Press, Practical SDR. It's got the robot and everything.
That's awesome.
The other thing that we don't have the webpage up for is that there's going to be a workshop on the 24th of July, a 4-hour workshop. And I made a joke earlier about letting Claude run your SDR. Just a couple days ago, I literally had a bit of a harness able to pull down some cellular communications, and Claude was actually actively analyzing, iterating, demodulating. So it's getting the basis for all this stuff figured out. It's going to be a thing soon.
That's awesome. And then two days later, on June 12th, Fawn has his workshop, building your own AI security agent. I think I'm going to register for this one because I think AI is about the harness. The models will change. Like everything else will change, but the harness has to be good for AI to ever even begin to succeed.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to the model, like you can choose the model, and open weight models you can fine tune, but the ROI on that is moot. Your power is actually in the harness. And above that, that's actually where almost all research indicates that a mediocre model with a great harness will outperform a great model with a mediocre harness, right? So that's really your chance to kind of mold and shape it. So my workshop here and the 8-hour course that I'm doing at the Threat Hunting Summit is really, it's architecturally, I've based it on a threat hunting blueprint. So it's skills-based and behavioral-based, but I'm not teaching you a specific system that you have to like shoehorn. I'm not selling you a tool or anything like that. I'm teaching you kind of what I consider to be the 8 foundational systems for harness engineering applied to defensive security. So yeah, I'm extremely excited to teach this. I hope to see as many of you there as possible, for sure.
We'll be there.
All right. Anyone else? Wade, you got threat hunting summits coming up, I guess? Something?
Yeah. I'm teaching my CTI 101 course, but I'm probably just going to go take Fawn's course, to tell you the truth. There's not enough blue team AI courses out there, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm debating it, even though I'm not a blue teamer, just because so many customers have asked me, like, you guys keep breaking all of our stuff with AI. What do we do? And I've been like, I don't know, wait for Mythos Blue to come out. I don't know.
So I have the talk
cookies.
the talk I did for the SOC summit. I have a second half of the talk where it's like the dark side.
Hey guys, I've got a meeting. I'm going to jump out. Thank you so much, you guys. But
bye, John.
I got to go later.
See you, John.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyways, take Fawn's course. I'm going to.
Yeah, I also want to say, even if you're in red teaming, learning about skills, learning about tools, MCP, learning about knowledge graph and RAG and graph RAG and all these things, like, okay, the example I'm going to use, that's all applied to defensive security, but the meta is the same. You can apply it to anything. You can apply it to non-security fields too, right? It's just that the kind of leading example that I'm using is all about building a front end. So from telemetry to make writing the final report, and even a step report, and even a step after that, which is a self-evaluation. The system looking at how it can kind of improve itself, and then using evals to quantify whether it did objectively improve itself or not, really. So
That's amazing.
covering the whole A to Z.
That's awesome. All right. Any other final comments before we close? Anything else to plug?
I'll be giving a webcast on contextual prompting later this month. I forget what date it is. It's a 20-something.
Nice. Yeah, prompting is still important. There it is.
Yep, that's the one.
June 24th.
The content stack.
Nice thumb.
All righty.
We're
All right,
gonna
Ryan.
go. We're gonna go deeper.
We're gonna go deeper. Bye, y'all.
All right.